Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap podcast with your hosts, Jody Roscoe and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time.
Hi, welcome to the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. Today's topic, preparing to downsize 10 years before you move.
That seems kind of crazy, but it's actually such a smart plan.
Yeah, I actually feel like this is close to home for me.
Same.
I'm like, okay, I'm
No,
in my
it definitely is.
early 50s, and these are, what we're going to talk about today is some of the mindset I've been feeling myself start to broach. So we're just going to talk about how this downsizing can be a really long process, and that if you do start looking at it way early, it can just give you more and more choices and options and ease.
Yeah, I think that's the key. More choices. Your life will get easier as you go along instead of harder. And you're going to start living intentionally. And it's going to feel better all the way along until you get to where you're ready to go. And when you get there, you will be ready instead of like, oh gosh, now I have to deal with all the repercussions of the decisions I haven't made over the last 10 years. So I'm Jody Roscoe.
I'm Heather Fisher, and this is truly setting up a future that you're going to be grateful for later.
Yeah. No, totally, 100%, because we have worked with so many people who have not done this, and they just kind of procrastinate it down the road. And I know this needs to happen, but I'll just deal with that later and later and later and later until it gets to a place where it's harder either physically or emotionally, often physically, because they just can't anymore. And then they're like, oh yeah, we really have to do it now. And they've lived in that knowing they need to, mental weight of that space all that time.
Yeah. And this way you can know you've made those early decisions and early steps that you can live a little more carefree and really enjoy the ease that you're building into your life for the future now.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful way to do things.
I think because we do this all the time, I think a lot about, like, I don't want to leave this for my kids. Some people's philosophy is like, oh, my kids will deal with it when I'm gone. But I don't want to. I don't want to leave it for them. That happened for me, and that wasn't an amazing experience. And most of the people that we talk to who don't want to leave it for the kids have had to deal with it as the adult kid. And so it's really, really important for me to not leave it. And so starting now is just exactly what I should be doing.
Yeah, I think layering onto that, I see people that we meet, clients and family members and stuff, that are living under the weight of knowing they have way too much stuff and they don't know what to deal with it, that I don't want to leave that burden to my future self.
Yeah, like, not even your kids, just to you.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I want to handle that now so that I'm not living under that weight of what did I do to myself.
Yeah, because your choices absolutely close down. And the fact that to make a choice, there's so much that has to be done to get there is just, paralyzing for people when they get to that place. So let's not paralyze ourselves when we get older. So the 10-year philosophy, right? We're not leaving our house, right? You're not leaving. You just got your new house.
Yes.
So we're not leaving our house, but we are going to prepare to live well in it. We're going to live well. We're going to live intentionally in our house until we're ready for that next chapter. But when the next chapter comes, we will be ready.
Absolutely. And guys, new chapters come so much faster than we feel like they're going to be. You think when your kids are little and then suddenly they're 10.
Right.
And then suddenly they go to college.
Right.
And then suddenly
they're getting married.
Yeah, they're getting married. Like those 10 years when we say that as the topic sounds like, oh, so far down the road, but blink of an eye sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
It changes, and this is just a real easy early way to make some choices.
So start with some future planning. When in your mind, when you're retired or when, you're in a place where you don't want this house that you have now, what's your life going to look like? And it may change in the future, and it's okay. But what could that look like? Imagine yourself, and what are you going to need? What kind of finances are you going to need? What kind of home are you going to need? Do you want to live somewhere half the year and somewhere else half the year? Do you, want to move to wherever your kids are, closer to them? Like, what is it that's going to look like? What kind of support network do you think you're going to need? So just kind of, our steps are, number one is dream it, and that's dream it out in a 10-year plan, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if it feels far off, one way to do this is to look around you at examples of people in your life that are closer to that downsizing age and have made some choices. Do you want to model after how great they're living and some of the ways that they're just embracing life in those older phases, or are you looking at examples of, gosh, I don't want that to be how I leave my life at that stage, and just kind of working through that yes or no, what you want to model after.
Yeah. So every decision that you make is going to have repercussions in the future.
Yeah.
And so what does that look like? And align those decisions this way. Once you've kind of made that future plan, you can align the decisions that you're making with that plan so that it's going to go along together, instead of just making decisions kind of willy-nilly, or what most people do is make no decisions at all and just let it accumulate.
Yeah, wait for things to happen. But every choice over the next decade either adds options or removes them.
Yep. So you want to have as many options as you possibly can when you get wherever you want to be.
Yeah.
So also we want to avoid a crisis move, which we see often, and that's honestly what our whole podcast and mission is with Downsizing Roadmap, is to help people get where they want to go before they're in a crisis. We want you to think about it sooner than later. 10 years sooner, if that's what it is, but sooner than later, so that when life comes up and grabs you, you aren't in that place where you also feel totally overwhelmed by the rest of what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Studies show that 70% of moves are triggered by a health event. And what that means is that all the decisions are being made out of crisis mode, that, you don't have your health to physically move things or do anything, possibly. Somebody may have to be making all the decisions for you, so they're not your decisions even that you're making anymore. So early preparation will protect you from that. Not to say that something can't happen. We don't want anything to happen to anybody, but if it does, you won't have all that extra stuff. You will have made the decisions. You will know what's going on. It will be your plan and your way that you want it to be.
Yeah, we just talked in our last episode about our 5-step method for downsizing, and we say all the time in our classes, you can get through the first 3 steps with no move on your radar at all. But that's what we're talking about, that you get to that point where you've made all those dreams and decisions and handled so much that you can just go through life, whether there's ever a move or not a move, without that burden of, ooh, I should downsize. Ooh, I should think about what I'm going to do later. You have your ducks in a row, and we don't want any health crisis to pop up and get anybody, but it happens, and you can face that with, okay, here's my plan if I can't be in this house anymore, or here's my plan if I need to shift this timeline. I have already done the other things and I'm ready.
Yep. Yeah. So let's start with your house. So you're not scrambling later. I think the biggest thing that you don't want to have is deferred maintenance. And so that often happens when the house gets too overwhelming for them as they age, and it just turns into more than they can handle. But that will deflate the price of your house. You will lose equity, you'll lose money on that. So,
and can snowball into more and, a simple early maintenance can snowball into a bigger repair or a bigger problem.
Correct. Yeah. So you want to make sure that the big stuff, the roof, the HVAC, the windows, all of that stuff is replaced when it needs to be. I'm not saying like, hey, run out and replace your windows right away. But if that's something that needs to happen, then make sure that you're not deferring that maintenance. If there's leaking, water is the most damaging thing to a house. So whether that's pipes that are leaking, or whether that's the roof that's leaking, or whether that's the windows that seals aren't working quite right, or whatever that is, make sure that all of that is wrapped up and the house is very well maintained, and you're preparing for any kind of long-term fixes that you might have to do in the next 10 years before you sell it.
Yeah, by looking at that long picture with the 10 years, you can also spread out those regular things that are going to need replaced at some time. The water heater, the furnace, the roof. You can spread out and budget for them so you're not hit with all of them in the same calendar year, and you're like,
right,
how's this going to happen? You're just planning ahead, and whether you need to pull the trigger and make that repair or replacement, you're at least planning for it when it comes.
Right, financially. Yep. Safety and accessibility. So if you're in a 2-story house and you can't do stairs anymore, there's really, you can get a chairlift. You can do some things if you want to, stay there. There are some safety things that you can do, but maybe it's better to make the move then. So, that's some things to think about. But just know that there are things that you can do to make the house safe if you want to stay there longer. Grab bars, toilet height, replacing toilets for higher toilets. There are definitely, lever door handles that are easier to open. There's definitely things that you can do if you want to stay. I wouldn't do them until you're ready, until you need to, but just know what those are.
I think it's when you've had this, thought process with yourself, a lot of people, in that stage of life, maybe your kids have moved out, you're empty nesters, you're like, hey, okay, we're done helping pay for college, we're gonna, remodel the bathroom or remodel the kitchen. It's a great time when you have that long-term plan to not visibly make the changes, but to have it on your radar. You can add extra blocking behind the walls for future grab bars without installing them yet. But, if you're making renovations or updates, kind of have that thought process of how will this work? Should I make this a 0 entry shower at this point? That still is very modern and aesthetically pleasing.
Doesn't look like it's... Yeah.
You can just kind of future think, how will this serve me if that dream that you thought about was to, age in place and stay there? You're making that all part of that early planning.
Yeah. Simplify your storage areas now. I think this is like the number one thing that you can do, that you can do it, then you can have that whole time to thoughtfully do it, to really spend the time that you need to do, because a lot of times what will happen is if you're back to that 70% crisis, the family's cleaning it out, it's just let's get a dumpster, let's just get on with it. And, no really great decisions are made about what to keep and what not to keep, especially if the crisis is causing like mental anguish, then you just aren't making good decisions. You aren't able to make good decisions on what to do with the things.
Well, and this is one of the things on our list, that by doing it early, it not only is so much easier in the future when mobility becomes harder and all of that, but you're seeing that ease in your life immediately. And, the things like mobility issues or some other health problems, they're not always an instantaneous change. They're a slower creep on things get harder. I mean, we've been doing some, moving and installing things, and, we put some cabinets up in our laundry room, and I'm just like, oh, my back hurts, and that was harder to do this than
it used to be.
And, you start doing that. So once you're simplifying storage and how to access things, you will reap that benefit now and in the future.
Yeah. We're talking about attics, basements, crawl spaces, sheds, garage, loft, garages in general. So any of those places, things that are stored there often degrade too. So like keeping them there, if something's in a box in your garage or in a box in your basement, it is not serving you in your life. It's not serving you. So you need to be really honest about why you're keeping it. If it's something that you love, then put it out where you can see it. If it's something that you're keeping because you feel guilty about, then we're giving you permission to let that go. And so I think that we spend a time, like when we're young and we have our kids, it's like an accumulation time, right? You buy all the things, like you get your stuff for your kids and you get your house together, and it's a whole like time of accumulation. And so these 10 years are going to be a time where you're going to just really focus on living lighter, right?
Yeah.
And letting go of some of those things that you've accumulated and served you and served your purpose when they needed to, but now probably don't need to be in your house anymore.
Yeah, it's a phase when you can be trying to use what you already have. If you have craft supplies, if you have duplicates of things, if you have, too many holiday items, try out, like, do I actually put all of this out at the holidays, and do I want to use it all? If not, it's okay to let that go. Or, instead of buying, new fabric every time you have a new project, what can you use what you already have? And if there's not a time where that works out, it's time for that stuff to go.
Yep. Yeah. So I love to use what you have because I think a lot of times we just think, oh, I need to just go get, I want to do something, I'm going to go get it.
Yeah.
And not really think about, if I wasn't allowed to go get it, how could I make that happen, whatever it is I'm trying to accomplish with whatever I have already here. And sometimes that might be, if you want to freshen up your house, maybe move things in different rooms, just kind of, maybe you don't need to go buy something new. Maybe, getting out of that mindset of accumulating things and just things that you have, or let a bunch of it go and then you can bring something new in. So, really start thinking about what that looks like.
Yeah, I think, such a simple thing, but I think like paper goods, like party goods, like, has there ever been another birthday where I'm like, okay, I remember I have a bin with,
Oh, so but
20.
you only have 7 napkins left,
Yes.
but you don't throw those away because that
Yes.
feels wasteful. So yeah, I've started to just put them on the top of my napkin thing, and we're
Yeah.
just going to use them till they're gone, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we accumulate that. I'll use them later, but we won't because it's the want new. So we either need to change that mindset and use them, like you said, for every day, or, our family's not going to care if the napkins all say happy birthday, but they don't match or what not.
Yeah, you could make a little game of it. Like, how
Yeah.
long can I go before I buy,
Yeah.
what X, because I'm going to search this whole house and I'm going to use every napkin that we have
Yes.
already.
Yeah. So things like that, to just move through it and use it, make it fun, and don't worry so much. Nobody's stressing over it but you.
Right. So, so personal belongings, you can use like a slow release strategy on your personal belongings, right? So it's a mindset. So start thinking about your legacy. What is it that you really want to pass on? Careful with this because it's not everything. And don't make that a burden on your family. But start thinking about, if there's things that are really specific, documenting the stories behind those things, why they're meaningful to you, why you would want to gift them to somebody, and consider gifting them early, gifting them now while you can enjoy that other person, loving that thing as well, and seeing the reaction to that instead of, you're gone and then you've gifted it to them, especially if it's something that you aren't using really all the time and you're just keeping it for them, maybe jewelry or things like that. So start thinking about what that looks like, but again, be careful. Let your family pick the things that they have great memories around as well, not just things that you expect them to want.
Yeah, and I think early on, documenting the stories and keeping it with that, and letting, those people that you want to have things know what those items are and why. And if you're not ready to give it early, that's okay, but just that knowledge. So if it comes to a point where someone had to take care of your things for you in a crisis, they're clear on that permission of, oh my gosh, I know where the important items are and what those things are, and the rest I can just handle in an easier way.
And not feel guilty about it and not be questioning, I wonder what they would have wanted me to do here. Wonder what they would have wanted me to do here. Yeah.
You're very clearly laying that out.
So legacy thinking, what is your legacy? What are the things that make you you? Do you cook all the time? Do you want to share all your recipes with your kids? Make them books, like start doing that, whatever that is. Figure out what that looks like. Number 2, break that deferred decision cycle. So that deferred decision cycle is basically like, hey, I'm not really using this thing anymore, so I'm going to just shove it in the, basement / attic / garage / storage area, and not making a decision on it, just kind of being the stuffer, right? I can be a stuffer. And then it just gets postponed forever because you're never looking at it again. Now it's just stuffed in a drawer or a closet or some storage place, and so you stop making decisions on it. So don't do that. Stop procrastinating the decisions or deferring the decisions. And start pulling out that stuff that you have deferred all those decisions on and making decisions on it.
Well, 10 years on this timeline, it gives you time to work category by category. So you're taking that emotional overwhelm out of it. Mm-hmm. But you do have to be careful that you don't ease up so much because you have 10 years that you're not setting those little milestones.
Yeah.
Is it one area a month? Is it 4 larger areas a year?
A photo box a month. It takes a while to get through the photos, but that's okay.
Yeah, whatever that looks like, set, a little milestone win for yourself and a goal so that you are chunking it out, and then it won't be too hard. 10 years is plenty of time, but if the 10 years goes by, then you're right back to that, I have a short time frame and a mountain.
Yeah, it's about creating habits, right? It's about just creating habits around the stuff you keep, the mindset that you have around stuff. It's just creating, like, tell yourself you're going to do this 10 minutes a day, or, one time a week, or, whatever, once a month even. Just 10 years is a long time, but like you said, it'll go by in a minute and then you won't have done it. So give yourself some parameter of what you're expecting to do for yourself.
It's like any goal. The time goes by whether you do anything or not.
Yeah.
So at the end of that time, do you want to look back at all you accomplished, or do you want to be still facing that same mountain? There's no way around it. You got to go through it.
Yeah. Something you can do is start testing a lighter lifestyle. So you can get rid of 10% of the items that are in an area that kind of feels full already, and just see what that looks like. That could be your linen closet, go through that, get rid of some things that you don't use. That could be your kitchen drawer that you have all of your gadgets in and it's a little bit stuffed, and you just kind of get rid of some of those things and just start testing out what it feels like to be living a little lighter, because it feels great. I will tell you. It feels great.
I will have to say, we do this all the time, and I'm not a super keeper, and so I was pretty adamant when we moved to just not bring a lot of stuff we don't want, and we have a completely empty dresser in our bedroom that we have all of our stuff unpacked and in the closet. We have that, and I don't think my husband and I have a single thing in either side of the dresser. So
do we need the dresser at all, or do you put things on? Like, what do you need something different? That's just an interesting thought process.
It's just interesting. Right now, the room is plenty big enough that it fills the space, and I just need to not tuck things because I don't need it for storage.
So I have that too, actually. So we bought a different console thing that goes under our TV, and it has a bunch of drawers in it, and all those drawers are empty when we moved it. And I consciously decided, I am not going to put things in those drawers. I don't need to. It's beautiful, and I love it, and it looks pretty there.
Yeah, the purpose for me of having it is it's the furniture piece kind of anchoring that wall.
Yeah.
But turns out it's empty, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And we have a fully empty kitchen drawer.
So that is
Yeah.
something also to get used to. Like, you do not need to fill up every single space, and
Yeah.
it's okay. And it's okay to have that furniture piece there, because you can't just have no furniture in your house,
Yeah.
because you don't, so it's okay to have that there, but you don't have to have the storage all storing things.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm learning and enjoying, is that I'm like, that's fine. It's not crammed. It's not, because I've had other phases in life or other storage situations where every space was crammed, and you opened a drawer and things are popping out. So,
Yeah.
be okay with just having some empty space in your life.
Yeah.
And it makes a huge empty mental
It's
weight.
amazing
Yeah.
what it does in your brain. It's
Yeah.
amazing. The space in your brain that your stuff is taking up is just mind-blowing when you actually let it go and realize it, because it doesn't feel like it. You just don't even know. You just don't even know how much space that's taking up until you let it go.
Yeah.
So build yourself a future home wish list. So start paying attention to what serves you, what doesn't serve you, what you're really not using. And if you can let it go without your house looking half empty, then do that. If you just need to empty what's in it and keep it there, whatever. But start just paying attention, so that when you do need to make those decisions, and you're only going to take half your furniture, or maybe none of it. Maybe you're going to get new furniture when you get there, whatever that is. But just know, hey, I love that, and that's going to go with me, and that doesn't need to go with me. It's perfect where it is right now in that space, and I like it, but
Yeah.
I can let it go.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about, on this 10-year plan, finances and preparing for a move that matches your future.
Yeah, I think that number one is how organized are your papers. So finances is one thing, and what's it going to cost for your future and all of that, and that is super important, and you need to figure out what that might look like and make sure that you're prepared for that. Talk to a financial planner, talk to, estate planners. There's definitely people who can help you. We aren't those, experts, but definitely we know that that's something that you need to talk about. But before you can even do that, really in a meaningful way, you need to make sure that all your paperwork is together. All of the important documents are together. You don't have, all paperwork from the last 20 years that is mucking up the stuff that's important and the stuff that you really need. I think paper is something that can absolutely get out of hand in your house. We have a podcast on paper. Go listen to it if this is you, because you don't want to have to sift through a whole bunch of things to get to the important stuff. And it's hard to make decisions on what's happening with your finances and stuff if you don't have it pulled together.
Yeah, I watched my mom having to go through a lot of paperwork over the last year or two and really get it in order. And it was so overwhelming. And it's a category that you really you kind of have to do it yourself. I mean, you can have someone help you get it to the shred pile or things like that, but you really have to put your eyes on all of your paperwork, you and your partner, to even get a start on organizing it. But now that she's done it and it's organized, that weight is lifted, and she knows exactly, when she needs various things for. You just need all of that at a moment's notice.
Yeah, people will
sometimes.
ask you for, do you have this? I don't know.
Yeah, and that weight is lifted if you just have it organized, and it's not, 8 file cabinets overstuffed. You're just like, here's exactly what I need, and it's updated. And I know I revisit that at least once a year, making sure it's still organized.
Yeah. The other thing is, like, what is your home going to be worth 10 years from now? We don't 100% know. We don't have a crystal ball. We can kind of get an idea, of an average increase in what equity could look like. And then where are you wanting to go, and what does that look like? And do you need to start like a little fund for your moving fund to pay for, moving and fixing up the house a little bit, and, cleaning and all of the things that might need to happen when you move? Maybe you do want to live somewhere else. Maybe you buy that house now, maybe it's, 10 years less expensive right now. And maybe you rent it out until you're ready. Or maybe, you do something. There's some thought process that you can go through on if you have the 10-year time, then you have so many more options on what that looks like. And if you want to end up somewhere else or in, even in your same area, but you think you could buy that and, now and rent it out and have it pay for itself. There's so many options that you can do.
Yeah, we know from talking with our young adult kids that the earlier you start when it comes to money and whatever your plan is for it to work for you in the future, the earlier you start, the more it has time to snowball into a bigger dream. So just thinking, am I going to want, additional funds for a second home or a vacation home or buying it now so I can use it later? The earlier you make all those choices, the less of a financial burden they are. And as you're talking to, whatever financial team you have in your life, your accountant, your financial planner, if you've done that step one of dreaming and that we always talk about, you can take that to that team of financial people and say, here's my dream, here's my time frame, here's, my picture, how can we make this happen? What are the tax implications of doing it this way versus that way? What does my strategy look like, right alongside with, us as your real estate agent to help you with what's that equity in my home and how can that be used for that?
Yeah, retirement timing can really affect too. If you want to get a mortgage on something, if you don't have an income anymore, that all can, be
just changes.
Yeah, really change it. And so it might be worthwhile to buy it while you're still working and, really pay attention to what that all looks like. So, talk to a real estate agent about any of that stuff, and your financial planner.
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay, lifestyle mindset. So preparing for your next chapter, right? So it's not just your house. It's also, your social, like if you're going to move out of town, what's that going to look like? What kind of clubs, volunteering, interest, church circle, whatever it is. What are you doing? How are you staying connected? Are you going to stay connected in the community you're in now? Do you have a community you're going to go to that you need to start looking at what that might look like?
Yeah, it's like building your own ecosystem of what that looks like. And sometimes people that is so built into their work life that they feel a bit lost, if they retire and that's not their day-to-day anymore. What does your day look like? Who are you, hanging out with? What are you doing? What's
your pace of life, right? Like, sometimes we're so hectic, we have kids and parents and, all of the things, jobs and so much going on. The future then is probably going to be a little simpler. And, how can you simplify what you're doing a little bit right now? Just test drive that a little bit.
Yeah. Or some people are scared of the simplicity and think they'd be, crawling out of their skin. Like I would be so bored. I don't know what I would do. And so just kind of figuring out that, combination of things and time spent and what feels good.
Yeah. Yep. So, just, you want to reduce your future burdens for your kids. Honestly, that's what I want to do. That's my biggest motivator on this. So, just take some small steps to figure out how you're going to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we, run through really quickly a review of, the kind of what we've been talking about, how you can use the next 10 years.
In a timeline.
Yeah, in a timeline, years 8 to 10 years out from a big change, you can start thinking about the big ticket maintenance, begin any safety improvements, definitely start decluttering your storage zones and using up excess things so you're getting rid of the weight of items.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then 6 to 8 years out, you can, reevaluate what spaces you actually use. Are there bedrooms that you basically don't even go into anymore? Lighten up your sentimental stuff. Maybe now you're tackling your pictures and, things that were family heirlooms. Always, revisit that financial projection because it's going to change as life changes. So I would do that, yearly probably, just kind of
make sure you're on track.
Yeah, and make sure that what you thought you wanted to do 10 years from now is still what you want to do 8 years from now or 6 years from now, or, has your thought process changed if your kids move to a different town and now you're going to go there? What is it? Just making sure that you're still aligned with whatever goals that you really are trying to accomplish.
Yeah, when you get to years 4 to 6 out, you want to start looking at maybe some of those cosmetic updates if you're preparing for a sale in the next few years.
Again, talk to an agent before you do that.
Yeah. Start thinking seriously about the not just a vaguer dream, but specifically what you're looking for in your next home. And start maybe early gifting items that you won't be taking.
Yep. And if you're 2 to 4 years out, you're still moving towards that lighter daily lifestyle, finalizing your wish list for your next home. So now you're really like, okay, in a couple years, like this is what I want to be, where I want to be. And, that might be doing some research out in the marketplace and figuring out what fits for you, what feels good, what size of a house, what location of a house, really doing some more, on the ground work about what that could look like.
Yeah, and if you're 1 to 2 years out, if you haven't called us or a real estate professional yet, this is definitely the time to do that, to execute on any remaining updates or last minute things, your final decluttering so that you don't have to pack and pay to move.
Yeah.
Stuff that you're not taking with you, prepping your listing timeline. I would say, make sure you know what your next options are. If you're buying another house, what is is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? What will your timeline maybe look like? If you're thinking about a senior community, this is definitely the time you need to be researching, finding out if there are wait lists that can change your timeline and getting on those. Just making that early planning. We're 8 years into this plan, but it's still 1 to 2 years out. You want to.
Yeah, and honestly, if you're looking at a community, depending on your area, I would be looking at that 3 to 4 years out, because there are definitely there are popular communities where the wait is 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
To get into some of their patio home kind of situations and whatever. So. If that's something that if that's what you think your next move is, I would move that section of it into the 3 to 4 year.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, find out what it is, find out all the small print and everything. But a lot of them, if you put some money down, usually a nominal amount, that will put you on the list, which I would suggest if that's what you think you want to do. Because once you get to the top of the list, if you're not ready or whatever, you Make sure with that community they don't put you back to the bottom of the list. But a lot of the communities then will kind of hover you at the top until you're ready. And that is really, you can't buy back those 3 or 4 years if you decide, hey, I'm ready now. And now it's 3 or 4 years away that you can go where you really think you want to go.
Yeah, it's exactly what we said at the beginning of the episode. The earlier you plan, the more your options expand.
Yeah.
So it's just one more option by knowing how long the list is and getting yourself on it if that's something you're considering.
Yes. So just think, if you could make one thing easier for your future self, what would it be, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's like stuff getting rid of, I think.
Yeah, living a lighter life in my home is just so freeing.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be a fast process. You guys, start thinking about it now. Be dreamy about what that looks like. Maybe you do want to buy another house, earlier than you thought. And there's so many options that you can have when you start so early. I think that's the key thing to remember. The earlier you start, the more options you're going to have.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've done lots of episodes on a lot of these key things to start thinking about. So please go back and listen to those episodes. Reach out to us on our website, downsizingroadmap.com, if there's any questions we can answer or topics you want us to address. And we'd love it if you enjoy the podcast, if you would give us a review, and we will be back next week.
Yeah, let us know what you start cleaning out.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.